So the presentation starts about kind of defining nutrition and what it means. And it also talking about you are what you eat, because many times when we eat, we really think about food about what we like, right? So when we think about food, we think about, oh, I like, I don't know, X and Y, right? But we don't really think, most of us probably don't think about the food and what the food is doing to our body. So we try to get students thinking into that because most of them don't. And even us as adults, we don't, right? So we talk a little about that and why is healthy eating a big deal. I like to talk about the unhealthy eating habits that you can get into when you get into college. Obviously, the freshman 15 is a big topic for some of the students because they're afraid of that. And also, why is being overweight a big deal, right? Why is it a big deal? Because we are at risk of heart disease and any other diabetes, all these chronic diseases. Also, the risk of getting into fat diets that can really deprive you from your nutrient needs, or just developing any kind of unhealthy eating behaviors, and how important it is to balance your time, your money, and health. And we talk a little bit about barriers. They have lazy lifestyles, they're stressed, they're eating on the run, late night studying, all-you-can-eat dining facilities, tight budgets, and also limit or lack of cooking tools. And then I like to start, and you don't have to, and you can do this separately if you like, with nutrition myths, because I feel like this is what catches the students' attention. So you can just do the nutrition myths on their own. I have a presentation that just has the nutrition myths, and then I have a presentation that incorporates them into the chapter material. And I like to start with these because this is kind of, as you can see, nutrition can be a little sciencey and it can be a little bit like, so nutrition myths really gets their attention going, okay? So we're gonna just go through these, and if you've either seen my presentation or done some of my talks, I like to do nutrition myths because I feel like there's so much misconception about nutrition and what's scientifically proven and what is not. Scientifically based, not proven. Okay, eating carbohydrates, bread, pasta, rice, makes you gain weight. Myth or fact? Myth, right. So calories from, the fact is that what causes weight gain is calories. So excess calories from any source if they're excess calories, they're going to gain you weight. So calories from carbohydrates are no more fattening than any other calories, okay? What really matters is the quality of your carbohydrates, okay? In America, we mostly consume refined carbohydrates, meaning that they remove the fiber and some of the nutrients, which is kind of what's kind of gotten us in trouble. So the best, and so I always say, so all of the myths are what's the fact, what you should do instead, and a little tip. Okay, the next one. Occasionally following a fad diet is a safe way to quickly lose weight. Myth, right. So the fact is that many fad diets are developed actually with people with no scientific or health background, and some of these can actually put you at risk. So one of the ones I like to talk a little bit about is the Atkins diet, because the Atkins diet, you eliminate all the carbohydrates in your diet, and ideally your body likes to use carbohydrates as your immediate fuel. The Institute of Medicine recommends that about 50% of your calories are coming from carbohydrates. And the challenge with the Atkins diet is that when people follow it, they eliminate carbs, but the challenge is that they add any kind of fat. And if you are at risk for cardiovascular disease, meaning that there's a family history or you're just more sensitive to processing cholesterol and fats, and that means that it's going to raise your cholesterol, okay? So you might lose the weight, but your body's still trying to process this. And if you are at risk or your body's not able to process it, then that's going to happen. So not all will get you in trouble, but some might, and you want to be aware of those. Occasionally, I need a cleanse to detoxify my body. Right, yeah, so this is like really popular right now, and I always have, your kidneys and your liver are the main organs that take care of detoxifying. If we didn't have those, we'd be in really big trouble. Diets can be really extreme, you can be very weak, and most of the people I talk to, they say, but I did lose weight, right? And I always tell them, and why did you lose weight? Why do you think you lost weight? So why do we think sometimes we lose weight when we follow these diets? Exactly, yeah. And most of these are just like teas or juices that are very low in calories. So of course you're going to lose weight because you're not eating anything, but you're also depriving your body of a lot of nutrients that you need just to maintain. You know, like right now, me standing, I need calories to, I'm burning carbohydrates primarily to kind of stand, and I'm using nutrients to produce blood cells. Like we don't, thinking about that, I think it's important. So we'll go to the next one. Oh, and one other thing I like to point out, I tell people, nutrition is all about building healthy eating habits, right? So if I go do a detox, and even if it worked, and you come back and you're eating the same way, then we haven't changed anything, right? So you're going to go back to square one. So what is healthy eating? So it doesn't mean you're starving yourself. It doesn't mean you're staying unrealistically thin or eliminating the foods you love. It means that you are feeling energized, learning about the foods you eat, and feeling good about your body, okay? So, nutrients and energy. So the first section is a little bit more sciencey. So we talk about the 6 essential nutrients that we have in our body, and that some of them and how they work and what provides us with energy. So the main ones that we know that provide us with energy is carbohydrates, fats, and protein. And we all, like I talked a little bit about our needs, and our needs are based on our age, our gender, our weight and height, and physical activity. Okay, so the older we are, the less calories we need per body weight. If we're a male, we need more. They need more calories than a female. Weight and height. So the heavier you are and the taller you are, the more calories you need to maintain your body, and of course how physically active you are. So anybody and students usually they can go ahead and use Super Tracker, which is a website by the USDA to estimate their calorie needs. Okay, of course they can use other apps like MyFitnessPal and all that to determine what they need. The next section talks a little about healthy a meal, and we use MyPlate. This is what I like to use to kind of balance meals, and it's simpler. It doesn't really require counting calories or anything. I think it's a pretty user friendly for everybody. So this section kind of goes over how each food group, what is essential and why is it there in the plate, and it talks about the recommendations. And I don't know what this is. So that we go over vegetables, we go over proteins. Oops, sorry. We go over grains, why are they important, how much is recommended. We go over dairy. And then we this is more of a summary of what they need, okay? Some people like numbers, some people don't like numbers, so this could be a little overwhelming, but I think in general, I like to tell people, the students, that try to aim for some fruits and some veggies on your plate, and then picking whole grains most of the time, and including some sort of rich calcium source in the diet. I tell them the goal of this is to improve and not to reach perfection. So then meal planning. One of the main things I like to emphasize is to make time for meals a priority, especially breakfast, because breakfast is commonly, as you probably already know, is skipped by many students. Also knowing your food options. Once they know their food options, they know what they can select. You know, most of them, if they go to the Rebel Market, they'll probably just go, they know pizza and burger, so they always go there. But if they know more, then they might be able to be more open about trying different things and finding healthy options. And then once they find the healthy options, they can select those most of the time. And then desserts and other treats could be the occasional treat. We talk a little bit about breakfast and the importance of breakfast and some breakfast options. What if you're stuck in a meal plan, which is most of them? So one of the resources I like to tell students about is Campus Dish, which is it's an app, and you can also go online. And if you guys have explored the Aramark's website, they actually have all the nutrition information there for the foods they're offering. So one way to think about it also is to just kind of go on there and see if they're serving something that might be of interest to you, but you can also know the nutrition information. You probably have noticed that they're also posting all the nutrition information, and actually that's going to be, it's mandated by 2018 that actually all the venues have the nutrition information, but my understanding is that Aramark is actually going to have all the nutrition information for Panda Express, Cadobo, and all the other restaurants that they're going to open up at the Union also will be available there. So, but in this, I really like this because you can also check what they're offering and kind of you can build your plate so they can add, oh, I'm going to have this sandwich and I'll have this and this, and they can see what they're getting. So I encourage them to, so then they goes over some dining halls, nutrition tips. So reading the nutrition information, making your half of your, and the tips are based on my plate. So if we're talking about making half of your plate fruits and veggies, how can we do that? So maybe selecting a salad to start a meal, right? Or choosing a veggie as a side, or having a fruit instead of dessert, kind of similar to what we're doing here. Pick a lean protein. So for breakfast, an omelet is a great choice, right? We always have grilled chicken and fish are good choices. And for your salad, adding beans, eggs, cottage cheese, and all of that. Making half of your grains, whole grains. So for example, choosing oat milk for breakfast. When you get a sandwich, choosing whole grain bread. And at the pasta bar, choosing whole wheat pasta. Keeping portions under control, using the make it your own stations, and also being on guard at the salad bar. I feel like many people, when they hear about healthy eating, especially college students, they say, oh, I'm just gonna start eating salad, and realizing the salads can actually be a little bit, dangerous, right? Because if you are choosing all the either high sodium, high fat, or high calorie items, then you are gonna get you are gonna not really follow whatever you thought you were following. So I always tell people most veggies get the green light, like spinach, tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots. And you just wanna be cautious of like olives, bacon bits, fried noodles, croutons, pasta, or potato salad, okay, because these are made with mayo. And of course dressings, right? Most of these dressings that we have here today are about, like around the 100 calorie range, but of course they have other ones that are the 300-400 range, right? So all of that kind of adds into the mix. And slowing down on sauces. So, and I'm not saying don't have a sauce. It's just I think it's important to know that sauces can add calories and primarily fat and sodium, and sauces like teriyaki and all of those can add more sugar. So always kind of just choosing it on the side instead of having it already in your meal. Making dessert and fried fruit a treat, and then of course rethinking your drink. The average American drinks between 400 to 500 calories on beverages alone. Okay, the human body primarily only really needs water to sustain itself. So the fact that we're having about 400 to 500 calories a day, and that doesn't mean like just sugar beverages. It means like coffee, juice, all these other things that might be calorie dense. So kind of thinking about what you choose to drink and being responsible for it. And then talks a little bit about stocking up your fridge, your mini fridge, fruits, what kind of fruits they can have in their mini fridge in their resident hall. Grains, proteins, dairy, and eggs, all the things that they can include. Also, late night snacking, which is very common, and first asking themselves if they're really hungry. And if they're not, then maybe drinking water, fruits or veggies first. And then if they're really hungry, we always recommend to have a carbohydrate and a protein together. And these are some examples, like crackers and cheese or peanut butter, carrots and hummus, cereal and nuts, banana and peanut butter, or yogurt. Staying hydrated is important. So the benefits of water, so our bodies are made up about 60% of water, and how much do we need? So the average woman needs about 9 cups a day. So let's see, this is 24 ounces, so that you need about 3 of these a day. The male need about 4, okay? So just being aware of that. I always tell people when people are carrying the gallon, when males are carrying the gallon of water, it seems pretty impressive, but actually that is the average, the recommended intake of water for males. And if, of course, here the heat is pretty intense, and then if you're active, you need more, okay? And how to stay hydrated, drinking water with meals, carry a water bottle with you, drink water before, during, and after exercise. And I like to include a little bit of videos. So let me go ahead. And like I said, all of these are options for you to display. So we'll do this one. This is about breakfast.
Start your morning off right by making small changes at breakfast. Does your typical breakfast look like this? Try a simple switch. Do this one time and save 650 milligrams of sodium. Do this every day for a year and save over 200,000 milligrams. Or maybe you normally grab something like this. Try switching to something like this. Do this one time and save 7 grams of saturated fat. Do this every day for a year and save over 2,500 grams. Small changes can really add up. Share your wins using hashtag #MyPlate.
Okay, that's breakfast. And they have one for lunch options.
Small changes at lunchtime can make a big difference. Does your go-to lunch look like this? Consider something like this. Do this one time and save 13 grams of saturated fat. Do this once a week for a year and save 690 grams. Or maybe you normally have something like this. Try switching to something like this. Do this one time and save over 700 milligrams of sodium. Do this once a week for a year and save nearly 39,000 milligrams. Small changes can really add up. Share your wins using hashtag #MyPlateMyWins. Start your morning off right by making small changes at breakfast.
So now we're gonna do and then the last one is beverages. So these are very quick and short, so you guys can
Get healthier by sipping smarter. Small changes to your beverages can add up to big wins. No need to give up your favorite mocha. Switch to skim and ask for half the syrup. Do this one time and save 9 grams of saturated fat. Do this 3 times a week for a year and save over 1,400 grams. If you're craving something fizzy, do you normally go for this? Make a switch that's free of added sugars. Do this one time and save over 50 grams of added sugars. Do this every day for a year and save nearly 20,000 grams. Small changes can really add up. Share your wins using hashtag #MyPlateMyWins.
And if you are interested in kind of showing more videos, I have more videos, but these are the ones I put in because it kind of goes with the presentation. Let's see. Oops. All right. And of course, I always like to and I know there's an physical activity chapter, but I always like to remind them like that it is important. It's not all about nutrition. Just general health is both about balancing physical activity and nutrition, and just provide a few tips to kind of staying active. I always encourage maybe even taking a fitness class as an elective, which I think it's the best way because it's part of their schedule, and they're better able to manage that as opposed to if they have to add it in. And then I like to also go over the apps that I've discussed, or apps that they might be interested in. So we have the Campus Dish for campus dining, meal planning or calorie counting like MyFitnessPal or MyPlate, and of course the physical activity apps. And resources. So these are resources that Patrick is going to upload to Blackboard. And like I mentioned, we have the nutrition. So we have the presentation. We have nutrition myths. We have the room cooking essentials. So all of these, so the room cooking essentials is this, and it pretty much, let's see, how can I make it bigger? Oops. So it pretty much just covers what are you must, if they're thinking about wanting to cook in the residence hall, that they can, what are the things that they will need, right? So you'll need, these are the foods, but also at the bottom, it'll cover what are the, you need a pot, you need a spatula, you need a mixing bowl, these are the basic essentials. And it has a few recipes that we've actually tried these in the residence hall, and they've worked out pretty, and a lot of the recipes only require a microwave, really, if you wanted to, like mini pizza, sweet potato with 1 black bean salsa, and omelet in a mug. That's it. The reason it's not part of the chapter of cooking on campus, cooking on in a residential hall, is because when I did surveys regarding what were they looking for, really nobody was really interested in cooking. Okay, and I guess you can understand that because they're so busy. So my goal was to provide them with the tools with the food that they're already choosing. For example, they're already using the dining hall. Most of them are in a meal plan, so that made sense, right? How can they choose? They're not gonna. A lot of them say, "I'm not gonna go and buy more food where I have this meal plan," and that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so this is why we don't have a lot of that, but we do have some resources, and we also have. Cancel. We also have a mini fridge makeover handout from the USDA that just talks a little bit about what are the things that they can put in their mini fridge to kind of keep it healthy. Also how to read the nutrition label. There's not very cover in the chapter, but if they are more interested, it's a little bit more like, I think this is better taught when you kind of just have to read it yourself. And Airmark actually put this vegan and vegetarian eating guide, which is one of the trends that we see, and it's gonna it has all like what are your options as a vegan or vegetarian, okay? And as you can see, we're gonna get a McAllister's and a Which when the fall begins. Let's see what else. Let's see. There's also handouts in regards to food safety, so kind of what are the three essential components of like pretty much food safety, right? So making sure they clean their hands and that they clean their hands and the tools where they're cooking, if they're thinking of cooking, thinking about separating and all of that. Also talks a little bit about, I have another handout in case a lot of students sometimes ask about questions about food safety in the college. Like for example, if I left the pizza out yesterday, can I eat it this morning? The answer is obviously no, right? But most of them will eat it and then they wonder why everybody got sick, right? So stuff like that, this handout covers that. So, let's see, so all of those handouts are, like I said, are not part of the chapter, but they will be part of a resource in Blackboard. I'm also working on this handout, which is Eating Healthier at Ole Miss. So what are your healthier options on campus? It's going to be similar to the vegan and vegetarian, but for example, it kind of will tell you kind of what I did today with Chick-fil-A. Will tell you, okay, these are your 2 healthy options at Chick-fil-A. These are your 2 healthy options at Panda Express. These are your 2 healthy options, I don't know, at Qdoba. But because we're still there, I'm still working with Airmark to get the menus for the new facilities. I haven't been able to complete it. So as soon as I get that, that will also be available. And I guess, let's see. Oh no, I think I deleted it. I thought I had it. Oh yeah, so this is the previous one. So Eating Healthier at Ole Miss. So it's gonna be very similar. So it has Chick-fil-A, Einstein Bagels, Freshies, Qdoba, Panda Express, the Pod Markets, the sushi, Starbucks, all of those. So it just kind of gives you a little, it can look a little overwhelming, but it just gives you the healthy option. So that's also will be available for them, for you guys to provide to students. All right, so let's see. So those are all the resources. And of course, the last resource is that students are, we have individual nutrition counseling. So if they're interested in meal planning or preparation, weight loss or weight gain, vegetarian or vegan diets, eating for fitness, or disease prevention, the students are entitled to free nutrition counseling or nutrition visits through the health center. Okay, so they can just contact Student Health and make an appointment like they do. They make their doctor's appointment. And also to mention, I cover some of the nutrition myths here, just a few, but there's more on the actual presentation for the students. So they have more. It talks a little bit about vegetarian diets. It talks about alcohol. It talks about all the topics that. Not all, but some of the topics that students were interested in learning about. And that's it. That concludes the presentation for nutrition. So like I said, I went really quickly through it. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you still going to give healthy eating walking tours?
Yes, upon oh, I didn't see you. Yes, so we also have an option that it's a healthy eating walking tour. So we go over, so this is a more interactive activity that we go to the different sites. So we go to the Lenore Dining, which is let them know a little bit about that. Then we walk to the RC and talk a little bit about eating at an all-you-can-eat dining facility. So through the process, we kind of we give healthy tips and talk a little bit about those. So then we go to the union and talk a little bit about what are your healthy tips with eating out. Then we go to Einstein Bagels, then we cover breakfast there. We're not eating there, FYI, we just like walking. So I always tell people that, I always tell students, this is a great opportunity because you actually do about a mile walk and actually get to learn about nutrition. And it's an opportunity to get out of the classroom. And I think most of this chapter usually is around October when people cover it. Some people like to cover earlier or some later, but it's usually a pretty decent weather if it doesn't get too hot to walk. If it gets closer to December, sometimes it gets really cold, but I mean the weather here changes by the day, so yeah.
Can you do that if you have a 15-minute class?
Yes, so usually the walk takes about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. So it's usually takes, that's because we stopped at each, and like I said, it's only a mile, but it does. So I always recommend that they ask students to wear comfortable shoes. It is a mile, but it can be uncomfortable in some shoes. But it's usually designed for an hour class. And typically if it's an hour and a half, it's like class, what the teachers usually do, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you had one of those, they meet after or meet before and then kind of do the other half with the walking tour. So there's different options. Any other questions? And like I said, I'm available to do the presentation as well. My car is over there, so if you're interested, you can just email me and I can check my schedule and see if we're available. I also have a graduate student that will be helping me with these as well.